Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 2CTV, your global news channel where there's some more breaking news, this time from British politics. Division inside Reform UK continues as we've had yet another round of mass resignations, as it is now emerged that Tory headquarters staffers are now joining Reform UK, and more Tory defections to Reform as the membership increases, but others continue to resign. In this live stream, we're going to give you guys the latest update on what's actually happening inside the party. We have a number of updates from our sources, which we're going to bring you guys. And also, I'm still here. As you can see, terrible video quality and audio quality because we're still on our I was going to say honeymoon anniversary with Danielle. So we'll be back in Angloland, London tomorrow. So, all right, let's talk about the latest update. If you're watching this live, we're going to get your reaction in the live chat as usual. First things first, let's talk about the leadership of Zia Yusuf as the chairman and also co-director of Reform UK. He was a Tory who defected to Reform UK, and he obviously used to be a socialist when he was younger. But, you know, a lot of people are socialists when they were younger. I wasn't, but some people are. Having said that, the Reform UK initially said, the movement over the last few years, that the problem with the Tory party was initially, they said, the politicians, so the MPs. Then MPs defected to Reform. Then they said the problem was, well, some of the members, in terms of grassroots, people who were in charge. Then members of the Tory party started defecting to Reform UK. Then Reform movement said, actually, the problem with the Tory party was people in CCHQ, the Tory central office. But now we can confirm that, is this working? Yeah. We can now confirm that Tory central office staffers are now joining Reform UK. So I don't know what the problem was with the Tory party, and if that's the case, if you can bring all the grassroots members, and also the wets, the left-wing Tories as well, like Tim Montgomery, the Liberals, and the CCHQ staff, which is a huge scandal, by the way. We're going to give you guys the latest information on this because in terms of the mass resignations, let's start with that. A number of branches of obviously the executives have already resigned en masse. A huge number of members have also posted on social media that they have resigned. But we have to go to one specific branch now. And this actually goes to one individual called Chris Littlewood. Chris Littlewood initially posted, obviously he was in charge, obviously as part of the top team of Reform UK in that area. He said integrity matters. Over the past 5 months, we have worked tirelessly to build a real grassroots movement for Reform UK in our constituencies. We believed in a party that stood for accountability, democracy and real change. Sadly, the actions of Reform UK's leadership have made it impossible for us to continue in good conscience. When integrity is compromised, blind loyalty is not an option. With deep regret, every officer in our branch, are resigning with immediate effect. Every single officer has resigned. Now, I'm going to go through the statement, but we're going to give you guys the names of some of the CCHQ, Tory Central Office staffers, senior figures who are now part of Reform UK. We do have the evidence, obviously, in terms of actually showing you this is not just gossip or rumours in that sense. Now, let's go to the statement from that branch. Dear Mr. Yusuf, integrity matters to us. Cliché it might be, but this letter has been deeply sad to write. We are the interim branch officers for Reform UK, Chester North and Neston, Elmsmere, Port and Bromborough, and we are all resigning from our posts with immediate effect. We can no longer represent Reform UK. We can no longer face our voters, your masters, Mr. Yusuf, and sincerely defend your party's actions. This decision comes after careful thought and with resounding unity. Over the past five months, we've grown local memberships from 780 to 1,482 as it stands today. We joined this party for its drive to change politics for good, to bring hope back to the nation and to deliver common sense policies. We poured our hearts into structures and plans to make a major impact in our constituencies, only to see that vision crumble. We are utterly devastated. Daily we face members who trusted us for guidance. Now, as disgusted as we are by your actions, many emailing to cancel their memberships immediately. If you care why you've lost an entire set of branch officers, read on. In recent debacle entirely of your making involving Rupert Lowe MP's suspension on the 7th of March, obviously over the claims, followed by dementia smear rumours on the 9th of March, and the utterly spurious, disgraceful weaponization of the legal system in reporting him to the police on the 6th of March, a day after his Telegraph article, for alleged threats from the 13th of December 2024, an 84-day delay that reeks of retaliation. Obviously, it's the reason for resignations. Worse, Richard Tice confirmed on GB News on the 9th of March that Lowe would not obviously come back and regain the whip, even if the claims were proven false, exposing this as a premeditated purge and not a pursuit of justice. Now, there's a lot of other things in this statement. Obviously, saying patriotic members across the UK place their faith in Reform UK to differ from other parties to usher in a new era of governance and rescue their country from terminal decline. And they're saying that that's not really the issue. We thought that you were obviously professional with integrity at its core, heart in the right place. We were wrong. You and Nigel are not leading the party where we believed it was headed. Then there's a number of other issues in terms of obviously saying there's no difference between this party and the rest, willing to compromise anything for power for power's sake, not the good of the people. Knowing this, how can we canvass voters or ask supporters to donate £25 a year for membership with clear conscience? And obviously there's a lot of criticism on Zia Youssef, saying that more damningly, Zia Youssef, the summer 2024 creation of Reform 2025, where you and Nigel hold controlling interests, locks in the autocracy, shattering any illusion of a democratic party. Reform UK isn't like other main UK parties. As members can't force leadership or policy shifts through votes. Yeah, but members don't really have a say when it comes to policies in Reform UK. That's one of the big differences between them and other parties, and saying that they can't really defend you and everything else. So that's that one. But then we've been speaking to actually some other members from other branches approached 2CTV. They're not allowed to talk to us or the media. They've been told you'll be punished. A lot of them actually said that they have signed NDAs, or those who have resigned, so non-disclosure agreements, the gagging orders essentially not actually allowing them to speak. But there are some concerning updates also coming. With this one, we have to say allegedly, because these are accusations from the members. We're just reporting them allegedly, especially when it comes to southeast of England, certain branches in southeast of England, saying some branch meetings are videotaped, so it's recorded. Security are present at some of these branches. One donor paid £5,000, but the money went missing, along with the person who was supposed to be in charge of the money. These are the accusations, although the person who gave £5,000 seems to be moving on with it. And these are the alleged obviously claims. There are issues with bank accounts in local branches, but that's kind of normal because it's a challenge for new parties when you create a new structure. But it's been a few months, so it does happen when you start from scratch, but it's not really a fully new party in that sense, because it's been going on since 2020, 2021. But in recent months, they've been saying we've restructured. So fair enough, a number of new branches have been set up, but it's now March 2025, and they're still having problems with bank accounts and this and that and money missing and everything else. So it is difficult to run a party, I fully understand, and you can't really expect Zia Youssef or Nigel Farage to be on top of every single branch in that sense, but you need representatives, a proper regional structure to be able to actually do oversight. Now, they say they're doing it because they're getting experienced people recruited from the Tory party. The same people who brought down the Tory party are now part of Reform UK. So if we go to the next one, this is Dan Astley, who is from Newcastle, and he also released a statement saying, "Last Sunday, I resigned as the chair of the Newcastle North branch of Reform UK. I no longer have faith in the party's leadership while Zia Youssef is chairman. The influx of ex-CCHQ staff is also concerning to me. It has become apparent that Reform's policy direction no longer aligns with what I believe in. It is becoming the Tory Party 2.0. We need mass deportations. I thought Rupert Lowe was Home Secretary in waiting. But clearly, this won't happen under the current leadership. I do not want to put any more time, effort or money into a project where I ultimately feel the outcome won't align with what I believe in, should the party ever get into government. If the party can find a way to resolve this properly, committing to a full program of re-immigration or for illegal migrants, then I will support it again. Unfortunately, I cannot see that happening, so I felt I had no choice but to leave. I wish the remaining branch officers in the North East all the best of luck. I sincerely hope Reform UK finds its way." So then obviously we had a number of others approaching us in terms of from other areas of Reform UK. Then we discovered, yes, CCHQ or Tory Central Office staffers are joining Reform, and a number of them are already there having key roles. So in case you don't know what's actually happened, CCHQ was a creation of David Cameron. Everything has changed from being a Tory, Conservative Central Office to CCHQ, which is Conservative Campaign Headquarters. Under Margaret Thatcher, the Tory Central Office, she ensured that the people in charge of that, the headquarters of the party, were sound Conservatives. She made sure that the Wets and the Liberals and the left-wingers, the Tory, obviously left-wingers, who are now joined Reform UK, from Tim Montgomery, Charlie Mullins and all the others, don't have any control. She went, John Major went, David Cameron eventually became leader. Things changed. After 2005 Tory leadership, David Cameron, with the help of George Osborne and Michael Gove, created CCHQ. Now, CCHQ, this is the latest, obviously, building that they had. Initially, it was in the Millbank Tower. The point of this was they brought in all the cosmopolitan middle-class liberals and the Notting Hill set. They were very different to normal Conservatives. Since then, over the last 20 years, the Conservative Party went through a turmoil because the party turned into a green liberal party. And the people in charge of it, the professional side of the political the CCHQ, the ones who were actually at the top, they were the reason for it. They didn't even know how to campaign properly. If it weren't for Boris Johnson and his personality, the Tories wouldn't have won the 2019 election. Those people are now part of Reform UK, one by one. This is what we've been given by someone inside Reform UK. Exclusive invitation, Reform UK, a Centre of Excellence. This is the Centre of Excellence they created for training, which is a very good idea, by the way, doing training days for members and everybody else. This is the actual invitation. Then we go through this. The training will be led by Richard Murphy, Director of Campaigns and Training. Richard Murphy was part of CCHQ, was part of, the Tory Central Office in general, for a very long time, by the way. One of the dinosaurs that we used to say, these people are out of touch, they need to go. He was considered as a wet, as in a liberal left-wing Tory. Now, he's there. Another one is Luigi Merton, who's the Deputy Director under Richard Murphy, and there are a number of others who are also joining. There is not much difference now between the two parties. In fact, more of the Liberals are now leaving the Tories to join Reform anyway. So actually, at the end of the day, the Tory party might turn out to be more conservative. But the Tory party can't really get there anytime soon because they have absolutely no support. So the Tory party is not really the saviour at this moment under the leadership of Kemi Badenoch. I'm not really sure if they are delusional to think that somehow they can now beat Reform UK. They are idiots, because Reform UK, despite everything, they're still doing well in the polls because they are now a centrist mainstream party. Reform UK is still going up in the polls because they're getting votes from the Liberal side, obviously the centrists, and the Tory Wets, and their own Nigel Farage loyalists. So that's why they are thinking, Reform UK leadership thinking, well, actually, this is a good gamble. We can abandon being obviously a patriotic populist party. We don't need that. We don't need to be radical because it's all about votes. It's all about votes. And they think that the proactive chunk of the population are, you got the Nigel Farage loyalists, that's a small chunk, but still a couple of million people, a few million people. Then you need the Tory wets, because the Tory party is not really good right now. Then you need obviously the more centrist people as well. So they are getting that vote. And they don't really care about the more populist conservative voters, because there was a reason that even David Cameron didn't care, or Tony Blair. Because historically, they look at those people as, you guys don't tend to actually vote. You complain, but most of the time, you sulk and you stay at home. You say, I'm not going to vote, I'm going to abstain. So many people from that side, which is the more right-wing, more patriotic or nationalist, conservative, populist side, throughout decades, it does happen, a big chunk of them stay at home or get angry and say, I'm going to abstain, or they're not actually as proactive. So that's why all these cosmopolitan middle-class centrist leaders abandoned them, saying, let's not even bother. Until when we had the Brexit campaign, when we had Boris Johnson in 2019, when we had Donald Trump in America, when these guys came out and energized that base, they come out and they vote. And they proved David Cameron wrong, they proved Tony Blair wrong, and all the other centrists. Because they say these people are never going to vote anyway, they're just going to sit at home and complain. Don't worry about them. Well, Dominic Cummings targeted them in 2016, the EU referendum. They came out to vote. Boris Johnson did the same thing. It worked. I mean, then Boris Johnson betrayed them. So, and obviously, Donald Trump did the same thing. They came out to vote. They've been ignoring them, and they've been abandoning them because they didn't like them. The elitist political class don't like the working classes. That's the reason. Now, let's get some reaction from you guys. There we go. Ivan, if you are obviously a member of Reform, let me know your thoughts as well. Ivan says, how did the back sack and crack go, mate? Not bad, actually. I feel better now. That was a good massage. Desmond says, we can't hear you. See, yes, you can. Yes, we can. No one else is complaining. What? Yeah, you can hear me. All right, next one. We've got Clipper saying, is it true that you're actually a ginger with makeup and the wig pretending you're Persian? Yes, that's unfortunately true. I've tried my best to hide this identity. It's now fully out. No, I'm not ginger. In reality, I'm a Chinese grandmother on a wheelchair. All right. The Viking says, please don't send me more posts waxing pictures. You do realize that's fake news and I can expose you because I've got your WhatsApp messages. That's the Viking, our bodyguard, the 2CTV security. AFC Renegade says, good Lord, Owen Jones will be joining next. Owen Jones, I forgot about him, the crybaby. All right, Zasman says, we are in the pub. Where are you? Really? I'm here. It's your round, hurry up. Thanks for that, guys. And Clipper says, do you think there is any chance of the Tories can get rid of the lefty rot that has taken over and get back to the party that it once was? So this is the interesting thing. Eventually it's going to happen, but not now. So Kemi Badenoch announced this week or last week, that's the problem. When she says something, you don't remember when she said it, that she's going to do a shake-up. She's going to reform CCHQ. I mean, part of the plan is, I guess, to send some of them to reform headquarters, right? But I don't really trust Kemi Badenoch to fully reform CCHQ, obviously, because she's also one of them. She's got that mentality. Now, if you had someone more conservatively, I mean, right now, a reformed conservative person like Robert Jenrick, if he comes up with a plan, people would say, okay, let's just see how that goes, because Jenrick might actually do it. Or somebody who's like obviously right-wing, right? Theoretically, it could happen. Considering now most of these guys are going to now join Reform UK, because the people who are working at CCHQ or Labour HQ, these people, both parties, I mean the Tories and Labour, they are professional and not in a good way. They see it, their political parties, as a game. It's just a game, winning the power, elections, numbers. They don't actually really care about the values. They don't really care about people's opinions. They just want to use it to their own advantage. That's their job. Campaign directors, all these people, that's their job. It's very nerdy. It's very like, get the data, just manipulate them, get the win. We just have to win because it's a career for them. So it makes sense why some of them are leaving the Tory headquarters to go to Reform headquarters, because they see Reform as now winning. So they say, well, we can actually do what I was doing at this party. These are the people who don't really care about parties. They can jump from Labour to Tory to Reform. They're not ideological in that sense. And you might think it's a good thing, but it's not really a good thing, because the people who work at the headquarters of a political party, they need to be believers in the messaging of that party. As Shadan says, TC, have you considered reading audiobooks as a side gig? I would listen to that. Brilliant. I don't want to give people headaches. Thanks for that. Anthony says, is it fair to say that Reform is becoming a Tory 2.0? Yes, but that was, I mean, it's not really conspiracy theory, because that was the whole plan. And Richard Tice was saying it even when he was leader. The point was to be the new Tory party. People assumed what the Reform UK meant by that at the time was, we're going to be the Tory party that used to be like a right-wing Tory party, a conservative Tory party. But that was slightly misleading, because it's not. Actually, the Tory party might become, at least in terms of rhetoric, and again, nobody trusts the Tories right now, but the Tories could actually, in terms of rhetoric, could become more right-wing compared to Reform. There are Tory members who are allowed publicly right now to talk about mass migration and mass deportation and grooming gangs. But if you're part of Reform UK, you're not allowed, which publicly you're not allowed. Which makes no sense. That means the Tory party is now more freer than the Reform UK. So what was the point of that? That's just one example. Reform are just the protest movements. Your votes are wasted if you don't lend them to the Conservatives at the next election. I believe Kemi has the big ideas to truly transform Britain. Don't get angry, guys. I'm fairly confident this person is either very drunk or it's AI, because I can't take that seriously. Kemi, no. Despite everything that's happening with Reform UK, at this point, they're no longer a protest party. They moved from being a protest party to a mainstream centrist party. So they are now part of the Uni Party. And actually, the Tories are the ones who are splitting the vote. We don't really have a right-wing party in Parliament right now, but you got mainstream parties, centre-right parties. They're definitely not a protest party anymore, because they've got more money than the Tories, I'm guessing. They've got more members than the Tories. They are creating branches, but the branches are shutting down. That's a challenge, I guess. But so, in defense of Reform, they're not a protest party, but what they've turned into is not really what people expected, to just become another Westminster, classic Westminster mainstream party. Stu says, if Rupert Lowe joins the Tories, he and Jenrick could own... Is that the end of the sentence? Well, the thing is, the problem with the Tories is not really just about leadership. There's a lack of trust. If you want to form a new shadow cabinet in the Tory party, you really can't have many people who were part of the previous government under Rishi Sunak, because they were complicit. Unless you can find people who resigned, for example, like Robert Jenrick, who wasn't part of that cabinet at the end, then yeah, sure. And also, you have to prove to the public you've gotten rid of all the other wets. So everybody in CCHQ. If you could manage to send everybody from CCHQ to Reform headquarters, then yeah, there's a bit of a chance if the Tories pick a right-wing leader. But again, it's going to take years. People don't trust the Tories. The Viking says, a reflection in the mirror frame behind you. Is there a ghost? Oh, I know what it is. It's the TV. Also, where we are, for some reason, they don't have GB News. They have Sky News, BBC News, but no GB News. I mean, I don't mind. It's just interesting. I assumed there would be GB News, but in this hotel, there is no GB. Okay, what's going on with you guys? There we go. We've got Reform supporters saying, Keegan says the Uni Party has to fall. Vote Reform UK. I don't know if you guys want to explain the problem with that sentence, but okay. I can't, because I think I've been repeating myself. The whole uniparty now, that's the issue. Gary says, Reform and Nigel Farage want to occupy the centre ground. But that's what he said. It's not an accusation, by the way. It's not a conspiracy theory. That's public. The problem, there is no longer centre ground, just far left and far right. But it's not really far left and far right. No. You have, there's no centre ground. And I forgot who said this, actually. There was someone who's a bit of a liberal centre-right winger. Forgot who it was. And I was speaking to them. And they made a good point, saying, yeah, there's no centre ground. The people like Tony Blair, who continue to think there is, because they think it's 1997, they're idiots. It's not necessarily far left and far right. It's not as simplified as that. It doesn't work that way. It simply means the centre ground, which was basically a bunch of middle classes who just basically voted based on being against somebody else and seeing a very specific policy about the NHS, for example. Well, oh, I like that. I'll vote for that party. That no longer exists. People know what they're going to vote for. They're going to know if they are this side or that side. We had way more, met too many people 2 decades ago who were floating voters, who could literally vote this way and that way. We don't really have that anymore. That was the centre ground. That doesn't exist really anymore. Everybody already knows if they're on this side of the spectrum or that side. Now, there will be tiny changes, but not really en masse. You know, if you're a Lib Dem, you're a Lib Dem. You might temporarily vote Labour, but you're always going to be Lib Dem. If you're very left-wing Green, then you're going to be voting for the Green Party. Sometimes Labour, but mostly Green. Now, it's not far right or far left. We don't really do far right or even far left. There's no, I mean, the far left sort of thing, they're a small chunk of weirdos. The Socialist Workers' Party and the Communist Party of Britain, whatever it's called. Nobody pays attention to these idiots anyway. The far left. The problem is the mainstream centre left. They hold all the power and they control the civil service and the NHS and the BBC and everything else. The globalist side. 2CTV is fast becoming sensational, like Sky News. Have you not seen 2CTV since 2019? Just go through the whole channel and the titles. The whole thing is sensational. They look like they wanted to form, but I think she means reform. Reform to fail. I'm still going to vote reform. Good for you. This is not really about telling people to vote or not vote reform. That's irrelevant. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for or who not to vote for, but I've been saying this over the last couple of days. Despite everything, parties are parties, and parties are about the collective of the people, not really just about the leadership or the chairman. So people can still stay in the party and fight if they can. I mean, with Reform UK, you can't because it's not a party, it's a company, but with normal parties, you can. Even if you hate the leader, for example, you can still stay and fight with the other people. So no one's telling you not to vote Reform or vote Reform. Also, it's not to form, it's reform with an R. Anyway. Jenny says, those flashes are normal to see. What do you think is in the background? It's literally an advert on Sky News right now. That's all. Literally a dog walking with a guy, and now he's in the shower, he's in a bathtub. Okay, this advert escalated quickly. Why is it in a bathtub? I promise it's as an advert. Some guy in a bathtub. Anyway. All right. Gary says, putting people in prison for innocent tweets is extreme. This is far left. That is now far left, far right. No, that's not how it works. That's really not how it works. It's not. Putting people in prison is not really a far left or far right thing. It's simply dictatorial. Dictatorial regimes and governance is not always far left or far right. We've had far left authoritarians. We've had far right authoritarians, not much. And we've had most authoritarianism coming from neither side. Look at the last few centuries. 300 years ago, 400 years ago, 500 years ago, 600 years ago, 700 years ago, 1,000 years ago. Those dictatorships were not far left or far right because we didn't really have far left or far right. That's not really how authoritarianism works. Okay. Breathe. All right. Anyway, I need to go. I need to go to bed. It's late. It's getting crazy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Vote for whoever party that you want. I'm Maya TC, and we are the media.